Hello and welcome to today's episode of Don't Give Up with Yadida. So I'm glad you're here. Really, I am, because of course, I just don't want to record and come on here and realize that people are not gleaning from this talk, this information, because I came on here with a purpose. Every time that we get on social media, I truly believe that we need to have a purpose. We need to have a message. And so for me, just in case this is your first time tuning in, this is Yadida. I'm also known as Coach Faith. I love, love, love motivating people and inspiring, and most of all, sharing a message of hope. And that's why I'm on here today. So, as I was preparing for my day, I just kept thinking about these words: don't give up. And I kept thinking about it over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was speaking with my assistant and I said, we're going to have to move this thing forward again. We did a Don't Give Up campaign. I want to say it was about maybe 2 years ago, 2 years to a year and a half ago, and invited people, didn't matter who showed up, on Zoom to speak to them about the importance of not giving up. It's one of my favorite things to do. Why is that? Because I know what it's like to feel the pressure and the weight and the burden that comes sometimes with the experiences that we face in life. And we don't ask for these things to happen, but because we do live in an imperfect world, it happens. And when it does, listen, I know you want to do everything within your power to make it stop. And what I want to do during these talks is I want to share with you the days that I wanted to make it stop too, but why I'm glad that God didn't allow it to stop. Now, I know someone just said, oh, goodness, she said the G word. I did. And I want you to stay. Those of you who are like, well, I'm not into that. Well, I'm not into religion either. What I discovered is that a relationship with my best friend and with my daddy, who is God, was so much more important than me trying to get everything right. As a matter of fact, I found out that I couldn't anyway. I found out that it was better to invite him, God, my dad, into the experiences where I could not handle them myself. And that actually made me pretty happy. Why was that? That's because sometimes you may feel like you're alone. But the truth of the matter is that as long as you continue to invite God into your situations, because I don't know about you, but sometimes we have a habit of trying to push God away when things get difficult. You know how it is. That is, if you do go to a ministry or something like that, when something negative or quote unquote bad happens, we like to say, I don't want to talk to you now, God. And that's the worst time to say that. Take it from me. That's the worst time. That's the best time to say, God, I need your help. You know what one of my most powerful prayers was? To those of you who are just like, I don't even know how to talk to God. I don't even know how to pray. One of the most powerful prayers that I prayed was the word help. It was one word. And believe you me, I wasn't like, help. Like, God, can you help? God, I just need your help. I was more like, help, please. You ever had that kind of prayer where you were just like, Lord, please, please help me, because if you don't, I don't know what I'm going to do. We have moments like that in life. And so I'm going to come on here to let you know that when you have those moments, I don't want you to feel like you're the only one, or that God hates you, or you're being punished all the time or something like that. I don't want to do that. I want to be the one who's going to come along with others. There are others. I think on social media, sometimes we get this superhero mentality. I'm the only one. And it's not true. God uses people, he uses different people in different ways. He uses people in the shelter. He uses people in the jail. He uses people on the business. In business, he uses people in family. The wonderful thing about it is that he can use you too. But sometimes what happens is when we go through these difficult moments, these dry seasons, these afflictions, these wilderness seasons or this process, sometimes we just start to believe like, maybe I got it wrong. Or maybe you heard a prophetic word, and that's when somebody is usually used. They're supposed to be used by God to give you that message. It could be the gift of wisdom, the word of knowledge, where they're saying something that's coming straight from our Father to you. I'm not talking about a psychic or anything like that. I'm talking about the gifts of God. And when they're speaking to you, it's a moment where you're kind of like, how did they know that? There's a story about a woman who was at a well, and she was there kind of going at the moment where she could kind of mind her business. Like, let me see, almost everybody goes to the supermarket right after work. Let me wait until after, or let me go earlier in the day so that I don't have to see all of these people. You ever feel like that? Like you're just like, I don't feel like seeing all these people. I don't feel like people asking me questions or people who know certain things about my life. They don't know everything, but because they know a little bit, they've turned it into a story and a lie. I don't want to see them. I don't feel like being bothered. Yeah, we've all been there before where we're kind of just like, can y'all just leave me alone? Just give me a break, right? Don't use those words, give me a break. I don't want anything to be broken. Our words have power. So she goes over to this well at that time. I forgot what hour of the day it was at this moment, but it's kind of like she just doesn't really want to be bothered at that moment. She wants to go get her water from the well and go on back home to mind her business. But here's the thing that's so significant about it. At the time that she goes, there's someone so special who decides to meet her there at that time, but she didn't know it. They knew. Meets her there and just strikes up a conversation and starts to say things. And she's kind of like, listen, like, you're not even really supposed to be talking to me, right? You ever have those moments where, I don't know, maybe you felt a little down, or maybe something was going on, or the big boss came, and they were just like, what's your name? What is it that you want to do? And you're like, you shouldn't even be talking to me. I'm not, up there with the other leaders, or maybe you are. And so he starts to talk to her. This woman, I want to say this woman who had an issue, and I'll talk about the woman with the issue of blood another time. But this woman also had an issue. And he starts to talk about her. And then he's like, give me some water to drink. Because he didn't really have the ladle or the tool that she was using, the bucket. And she was still like contemplating, like, why is this man even talking to me? Why's he asking me to give him some water? And so he says to her, if you knew who you were talking to, you would know that I could give you water to drink that you'll never thirst again. But she didn't know who he was yet. And they continue to have this conversation. And then he like starts to just spring some other things on her. Like, yeah, my husband. And he says, listen, you don't just have a husband. You have 5. And then the one that you have right now, he's not even your husband either, right? And he's just like giving her info. He's like putting it out there. Like, I know more about you than you think I do, right? Oh my gosh, I wonder if she was embarrassed. Like, I'm just trying to mind my business so I can just get out of here. And here's this man talking to me who I believe shouldn't be talking to me anyway. That's the thing that I love about the Lord, right? He's not like people. So sometimes you've been through some things in your life, and maybe it was, and I know we talk about that divorce, that breakup. For me, it was being conned by a scam artist or whatever. I hope he's delivered now, and stuff like that, or whatever else you went through. And you're kind of like, I don't even, I don't feel like talking about this. But then the Lord starts inviting you to bring him into your pain, to bring him into your chaos, to bring him into the very thing that you don't even want to think about. But yet the thoughts keep coming up. Just because you don't want to think about it doesn't mean it goes away. And so you try to handle it on your own, and you say, I'm just going to be busy. I'm just going to work, right? A lot of men, they don't like to handle stuff sometimes. They just, I'm going to get involved in the work. But that doesn't make it go away. No, it doesn't. And so he starts to talk to her and he's telling her stuff that he knew. And it was almost like, oh my gosh, how does he even know this stuff? But it wasn't just that he talked to her, because that's fine too. You can have people talk to you, but sometimes you just need somebody to listen, to share, to show, or to share in your sadness. And not just to say, okay, I know you're sad, but to give you a word of hope, to let you know, yes, it's like this. Let's acknowledge that, because sometimes we don't want to acknowledge the hurt, the pain. We want to be like, no, I'm just strong all the time. And I say, don't do that, because it's in our weakness that the Lord's strength is made perfect, because we start to realize that he is God and we are not, and that we need him. So you end up taking the heavy burden. If you could just picture it right now, where you're just walking around, and some people are with this big bag. It's like a hefty bag of the past. It's a hefty bag of the weight, the friends who lied on you, who talked about you, who said they would be with you, and they left you in your most difficult moments. That's not easy. It's the person who said that they loved you and you know you both were in love, and then the finances started to be a little interesting, and instead of allowing love to overcome all, offense, bitterness, speaking mean, saying harsh words started to get in there, and it hurt. And so instead of saying, God, that really hurt, I don't even understand how that could have happened to me, please help me. We're going back to that again. Please take this pain, this burden away from me. You just act like maybe if I don't think about it, it's going to go away. But the Lord knows that you need more than that, because walking around with pain inside of your heart, it's just too weighty. It's too much. Sometimes you're trying, like, I know I have good sense, right? I know that I could figure this thing out better than this. I know that normally it's easier for me to figure out how to move things forward in my life. Why is it that I'm having this struggle? Well, that's because sometimes there are other things there that you have not let go of. You haven't given yourself the freedom to release the hurt, the pain, the disappointment, the rejection that came from someone else. And you have to. You gotta let it go. Sometimes you have to pick the date to decide that you will no longer walk around with God, what God never intended for you to carry. He never meant for you to carry those things. He never meant for you to stay in sorrow and be stressed out and to have these things, these wounds, this brokenness, these so-called secret lies that you don't need to have. You don't need to have them. And so God is saying, instead of walking around with all of these burdens and these secret things, I believe that he sent me on here today to tell you that you need to start to deal with it. You've got to start to come clean. And sometimes coming clean is not easy when you're so used to believing like you have to be the one, the strong one, the one who appears to everyone to have it together. That's a whole lot. And that happens with a lot of leaders. One of my favorite platforms is LinkedIn. And I like LinkedIn because of it's a professional space, right? It's a space where you have business owners on there, and you have some who are progressing in their business, some who are starting off, some who are like, hey, I need to put myself open for work back on here while you're working on that business. But it's a space where there's business, and I happen to like that a whole lot. Marketplace, business. And so, but I also realized this, like, for my voice, the gift that I've been given, it's to take that encouragement even onto LinkedIn. And so I decide to do that because it's kind of like, doing that is like realizing that there are humans as well, that even business owners and bosses and CEOs and leaders also need a space where they don't have to show up as having it all together. That's not helpful. And so I think that a lot of times, even with pastors, I remember a very tragic story back when, where there was a pastor and he was struggling. He was struggling behind closed doors. And he had gotten to the point where he was actually doing drugs because I guess he was trying to nullify the pain that he was going through and then stand up on Sunday and be look brilliant and kind of like he had it together, but he was struggling. And I wondered sometimes, like, did anybody see? Did anybody know what he was going through? Like, even for you, have you ever looked and said, like, okay, all these prophetic people around and all of this power, how come people can't see that you're ready to just scream at the top of your lungs? You ever felt that way? It happens. But the thing about it is that God sees you and God knows you above everyone else. I call him daddy. I was just talking to my homeowners son this morning. We were talking about God, and I was like, listen, you know, a lot of times we just feel like he's just up there in the stratosphere. He's some God, he's some angry God. And it's not that. He created us to have relationship with us. To love him and for him to love us. And sometimes we just push him away because we think there's something else that's going to fill that void, that space that's only created for him. And so you feel like there's this longing, like something's missing, something, I don't know what it is. That's that space that's only reserved for God. But the thing of it is that even when you fill that space, you have to continue to go. It's like your car. Do you drive your car and say, I'm not going to put any more gas in it? Like, who does that? Or maybe you have one of these new highfalutin cars, right? These Tesla and all of these things. And you're going to just say, I'm not going to charge it up again. No, we can't be like that, that we pay more attention to the tangible things in life, but we don't pay attention to our soul and our spirit, to our heart and our mind. You have to pay attention to that too, because that matters even more than the things that you see that are around you. And I want you to take time. So that woman continued to talk with him, and she tells him things about herself. He tells her things about herself that she just felt like no one should have known. But the thing was that he stopped to talk to her when other people were talking about her. And there are times, even if you've made a mistake, where you don't want someone talking at you. You really want someone to talk to you. You want someone to look beyond the surface, beyond what they've heard, beyond what you're trying to show them, because you believe you have to wear a mask sometimes in this world of social media, hype and filters to try to be perfect when God never said you had to be perfect. You just have to be you. And I love to say to people, like I would say to my daughter, baby, you do your best because your best is good enough. But if I see you not doing your best now, we're going to have a talk, right? So do your best. Do your best. And he talks to her and he tells her these things. And then he tells her about this drink of water. Like, I've got 1, 2, 3, 3 bottles of water by me. Now, I'm sitting here asking myself, now, why is this one 3/4 of the way full? This one is really like a couple of, close to the top. That one, why do I have all of these bottles of water? Oh, why do we do this? Why do we do this when we didn't even finish the bottle that we had? Well, anyway, the thing about it is, he gives you water that you will not thirst again, or your thirst will not be for the drugs when you're going through. The thirst will not be, oh, you just need some alcohol. That's temporary stuff. And sometimes if you drink too much of it, it's going to make you sick. But taking that drink from God and getting into his presence when you feel like quitting, when you feel like giving up, and when you're not talking to anyone about it because you don't know who you can trust, or you just like, I'm a leader. How can I tell someone that I feel this way? And I love it because I have leaders who come to me in confidence, and we just principals are, whoever it is, business owners and CEOs. And I also have a background in pastoral care. I did my clinicals in the hospital because I didn't want to just do psychology. I knew that there was more. I knew that beyond psychology, and that's good to know those things. I love the study of the brain. But beyond that, I also needed to know that when that individual had that heavy burden, that big old hefty bag full of stuff, that they needed to know that they just couldn't just like, okay, I'm just going to think it away. And your thoughts are powerful, yes. But you also need to know I can get rid of this. God, this is a care. I'm concerned about this. This is bothering me. And he says, cast your cares upon me, for I care for you. Isn't it good to know that someone cares for you? Isn't it great to know that you are not by yourself? And the reason why we want to give up sometimes is because we feel like people don't really care. Or we feel like even if they care, how could they handle the fact that I'm not perfect? And you would never, ever had to believe that you had to be. See that smiling face up there? The day that I learned that I didn't have to smile all the time was one of the most powerful days in my life. I literally felt like I had to smile, cheese, in every single picture. Here we go, smile, smile. And there were times I was smiling when I really didn't want to. I wanted to be able to verbalize, I am not okay today. This situation has tried to rock my entire. I want you to know it's okay not to be okay, but you can't stop there. After she had this talk with the Lord, her life changed. He spoke life into her life. It's one thing to be living, it's another thing to have abundant life. To know that your sorrows are not greater than God's compassion, that your sorrows are not greater than his healing, that your pain is not greater than his healing balm. God can do anything. He can do anything. I feel like I was talking, but I think my microphone wasn't working for a little bit, but I'm back. My phone was ringing, but I didn't pick it up because this is important. Listen, my dear friends, and maybe we're not really friends yet, but maybe you just need to know that there is a friend out there. My word for you is that there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I am never friendless because I have the Lord. And just like you, I've had friends who I love dearly get the wrong information. We live in a world today where there is misinformation and disinformation, and it's painful when you know the truth, but yet people believe a lie about you. But you have to know the truth, right? You have to be able to say, no, that's not even true. And you have to own that. And you cannot soak up different things as I get ready to close our talk for today. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. In my book, Don't Give Up, one of my favorite quotes I have in there is, the caterpillar never knew it would become a butterfly. And there are things and times in your life when you're looking and you're saying, I don't see where this is going. I don't even see how this is helping me. I don't see how me going through this affliction or that sickness or that breakup or that pain, you're like, how is this helping me? How is this making things better? And maybe you're saying you feel like you're falling apart, but you're not. I want to invite you to invite our daddy, God, into that situation. I want to invite you to give yourself permission to say, to just breathe and take your hand and go, whew, rub it across your forehead. Wow, I thought I had to be perfect. I don't. Take that weight and that burden off of yourself. Life's. Things happen beyond your control. And when they do, I want you to always know that God is bigger than that circumstance. Her encounter with the Lord had her running to go tell people, look, come see a man. She was excited. A man. He told me everything I knew about myself. But more than that, he saw her for who she was when others didn't. He saw her as valuable, even though he knew that she was messing up with those 6 husbands who weren't really even her husband. But yet he didn't stop there. God doesn't stop where people do. He goes further. So let him take you further. The reason why you want to give up sometimes is because you're trying to do it by yourself and you can't. Invite God in. Just sit before him. Maybe you're saying, I don't know how. Sit before him. I love to start like this. Lord, first, forgive me for anything that I've done or said that didn't please you, anything I should have done that I didn't do, and anything I did that I shouldn't have done. Maybe you said go right and I went left because I thought I knew better and I found out I didn't. Lord, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I want to please you. And then after that, I would just start to talk to him, to thank him, to give him gratitude. And maybe you said, well, how can I be grateful for where I'm at? I discovered, first of all, he says to give thanks in all things. So I had to learn, Lord, okay, thank you for this. I don't understand it, but thank you. I don't know why you're allowing me to go through this, but God, thank you. And what I found out is I was allowed to go through it so that he could use my voice to encourage others, so that he could show me about what grace and mercy is, so he could show me what real power is that doesn't come from superheroes. And I like to watch Wonder Woman, but God, you're so much greater than all of that. And not just that, but you can also be great in me. So Lord, I invite you inside my heart and inside my soul and in every place that before I tried to push you away. Like when my mom passed away, I just didn't feel like talking to you. And that didn't make sense because I was hurting so bad. But I invite you into these spaces where I don't understand what's going on, into this business, this idea, into these books, because they're not just for me. We invite you in because you're great, you're mighty, and you're powerful. And then I say, in Jesus' name, amen. Because that's the name that I pray in. Because he has shown me that he has helped me many times over. So that's what we talked about today. Don't give up. There's always more. There's another chapter to be written in your life. I invite you, of course, to go ahead and listen to Don't Give Up. It's on Audible. It's also on KDP. And the paperback is on Amazon as well. It's in Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and all of the places where books are sold. You can go ahead and listen to that. But of course, maybe you're saying, well, I don't have money for the book. I think you can get a credit on Audible. But more than that, I'll be back here as long as the Lord allows me to motivate, inspire, and to encourage you to push past where you are right now and to see yourself in a different place moving forward. And maybe you're great, but there's always more. Don't give up. This is Yadida, also known as Coach Faith. I've enjoyed sharing our time together. I'll talk to you again real soon. Have a great day.